when I've had a major failure, it wasn't because I wasn't putting the effort in. What it was is I didn't really focus on a particular thing. And that's really what your vision is. Your vision is saying, I'm going to pick a focus. This is what I envision. I'm going to work towards. And instead of doing that, it was kind of like all over the place. It's like I'm going to put a lot of work in for a lot of different things, hoping that I'm going to get all these results and all these outcomes. And when I have had the ability to move to what we call a lot of time the one plan, which is like I'm focused on these one things, when you have that ultimate focus, then the effort is really worthwhile. When you're just putting effort in for effort's sake and you don't have an ultimate focus, at least from my experience, it ends up where it's not very useful. You're just tired. That's unfortunately what happens is I've seen some of the greatest people put in so much effort and not have success. It doesn't make sense. I'm like, you're doing something that's worthwhile as far as whatever product or service you're offering. It seems like every single day you're working really hard at this. How come you're not having success? And it's usually comes back to they didn't have a vision that they're focusing on.
Yeah, it's so important because otherwise, what the hell are you doing it for? Why are we doing this stuff? And, why are we making these changes? We got to understand. I mean, we make changes all the time. We just changed our whole schedule for the new year. What we've been doing is not working to the way we want to do it. And it's not yielding what we expect it to yield. And we've made the changes, but we're willing to make those changes. We're willing to fail. I think the flexibility is what gives you the capability to really make changes. You have to be willing to adapt and change the things that are going to matter for your business, things that are going to matter better for your life. And it really, is a challenge for a lot of people.
I don't disagree with you on the flexibility, but I think many people think they're extremely flexible. I have a growth mindset. I'm willing to learn and I'm flexible and I'll make changes. But I think in order to drive that flexibility into a more successful situation, it usually requires uncomfort. That's the thing is the change is usually uncomfortable. And are you flexible enough to now put yourself in an uncomfortable situation that you're not familiar with? Because that's really what it is to improve.
Right.
You're constantly learning, it's an iteration on your last failure. That's really what it is there's failure and I have to iterate, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. What that means is you have to change, right? But inside of it, being flexible is wonderful, but the willingness to accept uncomfort, I think that's really what it comes down to because especially for business owners, entrepreneurs, self-employed people, you have mastery. Like you wouldn't be able to generate revenue if you didn't have some sort of mastery in some area. You're a great salesperson or you produce a great product or you give great advice or you run a great operation. You've mastered that. And to now say like, okay, I'm going to change this after I've just spent all this time and energy mastering it is fucking scary. Like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not a good feeling. And you're like, wait, I have to do that all over again? Master
Exactly.
something new. And that's what I mean by the willingness to be uncomfortable. It's all right. I'm going to start from scratch again and relearn something and remaster it. And the people always say, I could just delegate it. You could just hire somebody. And you certainly can, but not for everything, not for the vision,
No.
especially. The vision means that the whole enterprise is going to change. And yeah, you may need to change some people's seats and you may need to change the bus that you drive. I'm using good to great, but
Yep.
you may need to change these things. But you yourself have to change that vision as the leader of the organization, as the leader of your family, as the leader of your friend group. Whenever you're a leader, you're the one that's going to decide the vision, the course that everyone's going to go after. And that means you need to be super uncomfortable.
And I often think that the more discomfort you have, the more you're uncomfortable with the situation, the more necessary and the more important it really is for you to do. We go through anything that you are uncomfortable with. You're doing it because there's something better that needs to happen around the corner, or there's something better that you're trying to work towards. And it's a necessary part of the process. And people don't recognize that they don't want to change because they don't want to be uncomfortable. Well, if you don't want to do any of that, then you can't take anything to the next level. You can't make any improvement.